Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Rutland Town Select Board meeting for June 6th. This is Tuesday. We're here at 6 o'clock. We have with us today Select Board Member Matt Getty, Select Board Member Kurt Hathaway. I'm Mary Ashcroft. Sharon Russell is under the weather and not attending, and it looks like Joe DiNardo is also not attending. He sometimes zooms in, but he isn't. We'll let you know if he joins us. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item on the agenda. First item on the agenda is the approval of the May 22nd Select Board minutes.
So moved.
Motion's been made to approve.
Second.
And seconded. Any additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I will vote aye. And it is passed by the three of us. Okay. Are there any board member announcements?
No, but do we need to vote on the,
Do we have another set?
oh, hold on, never mind, the 22nd was the night of the special meeting, right?
Well, no, you're right. We also have a special select board committee meeting for Tuesday, May 30th, and this was the Public Safety Building Committee, which is our committee meeting as a whole. So I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion's made
Second.
and seconded. Any additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. All right. Board member, I have board member announcements. There are none. Update from select board chair. I made a couple. We do have a 6:15 call in, and that's on our service road project. Okay, good. We have a 7 o'clock hearing on the vicious dog complaint. We have 7 to 7:30 call in with our town attorney that will, be executive session. So we're gonna try and meet all of those deadlines. Okay. All right, and Sharon did go to MSJ and awarded the scholarship to a student at that institution. So, and when is Rutland High?
14th.
Okay. All right, are there any questions from the floor or public comments from folks who are not otherwise on the agenda? There's only 3 people in the room besides the select board and our administrator, so I would say no. And it doesn't appear that there's anyone on the Zoom call. All right, let's see if we can get to Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Real quick, baseball's kind of wrapping up in the next couple of weeks. The grass is growing at Northwood and at Dewey, so that's good. I'm gonna fertilize, probably throw 10-10-10 at it, so I don't kill it, but I'm gonna pick some up and do that in the next week or two. The pool signups for tonight, I'm gonna head back there after this. So far, we had about 35 people sign up, which was great. That's about average, which is good, and that'll continue tomorrow. We opened last weekend. We had 2 people swim. I don't know why they did. They did. So everything's running very smoothly in that regard.
Okay.
Just waiting for school to end so I can live there for the summer. We're good. I don't really have anything else.
Any questions from select board members? Nope.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Quick and easy.
Yeah.
I like it.
Dude, did I forget something? No, that's all I had today.
So
You better live up to it.
Dave Sears, you're gonna be on with Evan anyway. And Ed Dumas, I think I'd like you in on the executive session with our attorney. It's nothing bad you've done, just so you know, okay? All right, so
I'm not aware of it.
Dave,
Hello.
hi.
You want to just start with Evan so that he doesn't have to suffer through the.
I'm sure
Hi,
he's
folks.
enjoying it, not suffering in the least, so,
Not so
Uh,
far.
okay. So welcome and thank you for joining us.
Sure.
Now, I'm not even sure how long ago it was that you and your firm were working on the service road and you were doing the preliminary studies that were going to be aiming us toward I think a plan to go out to bid, or almost at that point. Why don't you refresh where we were? We have some new select board members since that time, and we decided to take another look at this. We know there's some federal funding that may be coming, and we wanted to see if it was feasible to put together, pick up where we were, how much it would cost to complete what you were working on, and next steps. So,
Okay, yeah, sure. So I was working with you about 5 years ago in 2018,
wow.
and we were working on what was called the New Town Road project. So it would be a new town road that would pick up basically behind the Hannafords at Farrell Distributing, and then make a connection going north from the Farrell Distributing area. It would go north behind the properties out there and cross over Ranbury Road and then go over to the Aldi's. That was basically the alignment of the new road. And we had plans that we had developed at that time that showed the conceptual alignment of that road. We had done some early planning for that and some field investigations. And we were working towards getting together a set of preliminary engineering design plans when we were asked to stop by the town to stop working on the project because it was unclear that the town had the motivation or money to continue with that project to complete it the way it had been thought about being completed. So there was about $30,000 left in our budget at that point to complete just the preliminary engineering. And that's what we were under contract for with the town at that time, just through preliminary plans. And there was some money left at that time to get us to the preliminary plan stage. Subsequent to doing the preliminary plans, the goal for the town was to continue along with the design and the permitting and the right-of-way acquisition and some utility work in order to bring the project forward to the point where we could get it out to bid for a construction contract, right? This is an area that has existing Act 250 permits on adjacent properties. There are operational stormwater permits on adjacent properties. There's a small stream corridor. There are wetlands. There are known contaminated soils. So there are a lot of permitting tasks that would have to be undertaken in order to get all the approvals that you would need to build this road as well. Additionally, there were impacts to about 8 private properties. So the town would need to acquire some sort of easement or acquire property in fee from property owners in order to have this new road go through the alignment I'm talking about. And then there was the question of the utilities. The project would directly impact, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 utility poles that would have to get relocated. But additionally, there was a bunch of discussion at that time in 2018 about whether or not we wanted to put in potable water main, so public water supply down Ranbury Road primarily, and also do something about the sewer that's out there as well. So there were a couple of things that we had to decide on for the road before we could ever move to final design. And that's why we were going through the preliminaries and taking a look at that. So the town was much better informed when it came to deciding whether or not you wanted to go forward with the final design, get those, some more information in place before you could make an informed decision. And those things were really, you know, the level of permitting, what was going to happen with the contaminated soils, should we or should we not include any of the water and sewer work? How amenable might the property owners be to having given up some of their property for this new road and that sort of thing. We also looked at whether or not we could minimize the cost by doing things like not rebuilding Ranbury Road west of the project area. So where the new road would cross, which is about halfway along the length of Ranbury, maybe not reconstruct the western half, not reconstruct the existing road up to Farrell Drive and just leave that the way it is basically without reconstructing with new pavement. And did we want to do anything with signals out on Route 7 and involve V-Trans in a more significant way? Or, you know, how did we want to proceed with the project? So should we have the full project that was first envisioned, which included a lot of these things I'm talking about that eventually got excluded, or should we go with a more or less abbreviated project that might be more affordable, but maybe not quite as robust as was originally thought about? So we put pencils down in 2019, I think it was, and we just have more or less been waiting since that time for further direction from the town. And now it's really up to you folks about whether or not you want to have us continue to do the work and what that project, you know, what you want to get out of that project in terms of these couple of things I talked about were maybe options or maybe part of a scaled back project or not included in a scaled back project.
Okay. We have constructed the water line down Ranbury Road, so that's done. We did do
Okay,
that.
good. Yeah.
And there's now a Harbor Freight in back of the Aldi's, so there is another property that's been developed
Oh,
there. Yeah.
on that skinny parcel behind Aldi's?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So a couple of updates from our side. I guess what we're looking for, the select board member who really, and I'm the other one, really wanted to proceed with you folks back 5 years ago, is not here tonight, which is too bad. Is he? No. Okay. Which is too bad because he may have questions, but the real question is picking up now and having you finish the preliminary engineering work. What would it cost us to have you pick up those pencils again and finish the first part of what you were doing?
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at that. You know, we had about $30,000 left before. It would be
Yeah.
somewhere in that neighborhood, but probably a bit north of that. So it may be closer to 40,000 at this point.
Okay.
But I'd have to really, you know, sit down and refresh my memory of where we left off and what we said we would do for that initial contract.
Okay. And I guess now it's, you know, up to the select board members who weren't involved in this discussion, who are here tonight to pepper you with questions. Go to it.
Okay.
And just real quick, that 30,000 is actually in my budget for FY24, so that
Yes,
there is some there.
We put money in there.
we did, with the thought that we would want to
Yep,
pick this
right.
up and proceed forward. So in one sense, we've already committed at least to moving along because we put some money in the budget.
Yeah.
So Matt,
I don't know that I have questions now. I think would be useful as a refresher from you and Joe about what the thinking was behind the project. But I mean, I think generally speaking, I'm gonna lean in favor of spending money to have the study in our pocket so that we don't have, you know, sort of wasted work on the table and we
Yeah.
could be potentially completing the project in the future.
okay,
Yeah, I can go over it with you at some point too. I was pretty familiar with the project. Was
and one
quite
of the
disappointed that it got stopped.
one of the things that we had looked at and we let drop because we were working on this was a a slip lane to allow trucks to access Farrell Distributing more easily. And we went so far as to get a transportation board permit, which we have since let lapse because it was probably not the best option. This was a better option for the whole thing. So anyway, if you could let us know what the cost might be and some timeline, how long would it take to put together those things, and then get back to, if you're willing to, and it probably was not the best political move ever by a select board to just drop things in the middle, but if you're still willing to work
Yeah.
with us, we'd be grateful. And I think that would be the
Sure.
logical. Thank you.
Yeah,
Logical
towns
next
all the
step.
time reevaluate their priorities and what they're working on and that sort of thing. So this is nothing really unusual. So no harm, no foul as far as we're concerned. We'd be happy to continue along with this and help you out. I think by the end of this week, I could get back to you with a firm number to complete the preliminary engineering and then a schedule to do so.
That would be wonderful. Then we could take a look at it. We meet every 2 weeks, so we're not going to be meeting again until the
Okay.
end of the month. But so you, in other words, don't rush. But we would like to have something from you by the time of our next meeting.
Yeah, that won't be a problem. I could easily do that. So yeah, I'll write up I guess I'll just, at this point, I'll just write up a more or less formal summary in an email and say, this is what I expect to complete. And then if you want to engage us to do that, we would just have to kind of refresh that contract.
Okay. All right. And I think Bill has you had some pretty nice schedules on as I remember on the contract that kind of outlined what was going to happen when, and so that was really helpful. So
Got files.
okay, Bill's got the files, so he'll pull those out for us.
Okay,
Good. Well, thank you very much.
sure.
It'll be good working with you again, and let's see how far we get this time.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be back in touch and then we can pick it up from there.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Evan, very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Evan.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
thanks, you
too.
too.
Okay, back to the day-to-day.
Thanks for pulling that together, whoever did. So that
Not a
was,
problem. There's
yeah,
a couple phone calls and an email.
okay,
Easy enough.
good, thank you.
Perfect, sure. So in the last couple weeks, there was a pretty large fill pile over the backside of the transfer station, and we kind of ran that through the screen a little bit just to screen out. There was some nice nuggets in there. But we needed room for the wrap for when the recycled asphalt product for when we do East Pittsford Road. We needed someplace to put that stuff because that stuff is like gold and I'm not giving it up. So we didn't really have any room. So we got room now,
Okay,
So that-
where's it going, on top or down below?
down below,
Okay,
down in the back. So in kind of in line with that, the plan to mill East Pittsford Road could very possibly happen next week. The mill machine is in like Burlington on Monday, Middlebury on Tuesday, and if the wheels don't come off, they could be there Wednesday or Thursday, possibly Friday, depends, but hopefully sometime next week, East Pittsford Road we get started on that.
Good.
And then tentatively, the schedule for the reclaim of Travis Terrace will be the following week. So we got some destruction coming down the road. Last week, Jason and Ben went to Middlebury, all 3 days for chainsaw training, which was desperately needed. And they learned some stuff that neither of them knew, and I couldn't teach them because I was afraid to be around them. And I took some much needed time off last week, so I wasn't around much. And on a bright note, Walt is back
yeah, when's he gonna start mowing?
today.
Okay,
Yeah, he was out there today. He was all smiles. Asked him if he wanted to come back full time, and he immediately said no.
and that
So-
smile went away.
No, he smiled when he said no. Um. uh, I finally got a bill from Fuller. I had to actually ask him for it for Town Line Road because he forgot to send us a bill. And I needed to get the grant. I need to get him paid for out of
Yeah.
this year. So I kind of stepped on my foot by asking him for a bill that we might not have got in the first place, but I kind
Probably
we would have got it. He said, yeah, it would have been about a month or so. I'd have figured how come I don't have any money? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'm working on putting that grant together. I'm waiting for one more invoice from Wilk on some wrap that we bought from them for edging, and I'll be able to put that together. Right now, without that invoice, we're at $230,289 on that project. And I'm still waiting for that invoice, which should be a sizable number. So we were, the cap on the project was 240.
Yeah.
So we're just, 10 grand shy of that. And the closer we get to that, the closer we get to that 200. We get a max of 200 back if we get to the 240. So
Okay, all right, we kind of were. Yeah. All right, and this all should happen now, okay, in this fiscal year.
well, I doubt we'll get the money back, but I'll have the grant in by the end of,
And you get carryover rights.
we got carryover, and
Okay, so,
Bill and I did some calculations the other day, and it
You're
works.
good.
We'll be all
Okay.
good.
okay, good.
Kind of in line with that also is we had we applied for the grant for East Pittsford Road
Mhm.
for the Class 2 paving grant, and we were not funded this year. I think maybe, who knows? But when we were in here doing the grant for the culvert, we talked to Brian about, possibly doing another grant for this year. He's like, well, we kind of given a lot of money to the town, and I don't know. So,
All right,
and then I did get us on the list for that thing on Stratton Road. So they may be looking at ease up a little bit.
okay,
So but that's fine with all of this, the way sugar's off. We're still good to do everything we were gonna do anyway, so it's fine.
okay, good.
And this afternoon, because we had a little bit of time, we are building a compost bin for a big giant compost pile, and we built the back wall today, so
Good.
I gotta get some more blocks to build some side walls, and we'll start
Where's it going?
down over the bank.
Down over the bank, okay. Who's gonna be in charge of it? Highway or?
Yeah.
Transfer?
It'll be us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, good.
And that's where we are.
Okay, questions of our road commissioner?
Any luck hiring anybody?
Got an interview tomorrow morning at 6:15. Chances are pretty good for him at this point.
Yeah.
And then I guess maybe just one other thing. I talked to Kurt a couple weeks ago.
This Kurt?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a homeowner on Gloria Drive who has a drainage system going across his property, but I guess I don't really know. That's why I want to talk to Joe or Kurt, because there's a history here. This was all done obviously long before I got here, but there's a culvert that comes across the road that's 15 inches. And then it comes out of the culvert and it's a 6-inch pipe running about 120 feet or so, and it goes back into a 15-inch culvert across a little driveway, comes out of there and goes down to 4-inch for the last, it's like 320 feet total. And believe it or not, it doesn't work.
Can't think why not?
I don't know. It's crazy. So he's been on me since the day I walked through the door about fixing this. And it's kind of out of the right of way, but the town allegedly did it. So at some point, Kurt thought it was fine to fix this the right way. And so it'll be sometime later in the summer, and the guys don't fine with that, but just is what it is.
Yeah, do we have easements?
I can get one. He'll sign his property over to me.
Okay, I mean, that going forward, we've learned so many lessons in the past.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we have an easement and
Yep.
temporary construction easement and then the permanent easement for
Right.
this thing. If we're
Yep.
gonna invest the money in it, we want to secure
Yep.
our ability to go in and fix it. So,
Absolutely.
okay, thank you. Do you need to talk to, well, Kevin's gonna be on later, but he's got
I-
another.
this is kind of down the road, so
Okay.
I'll talk to him and we'll figure it all out.
Okay, good, thank you.
This will be, late summer project probably.
Matt, questions?
Think
Okay,
think we're good?
all right, good. Thank you very much. All right. Marcia Chaffee, is she on? Okay. Yes, and Chris Clark is not participating. And that also means Carrie Clark is not. Mike Delahanty. All right. Ed Dumas, Town Police Chief. Well, don't do that because you know how I jinx things, so.
People will be
Don't
back
do it.
later.
I understand.
Yeah.
So last 2 weeks called for service, 62 calls for service. We had 14 traffic stops.
Ooh,
Uh,
yes, it was great fun watching our second constable down on Creek Road. And the cars just nicely slowing and enjoying the scenery. It was great.
And the other thing was the stats for May. Lynn got those done. Let's see, so we had a total of 159 cases for the month, 109 were at the south end of the town. The last month, so we're still up quite a bit, actually. Last month was kind of an anomaly. We had 75 incidents in the south end. And January, we're at 71. There we go. It's getting warm, things are starting to pick up. I know the city's really busy with retail thefts with a group of probably 4 or 5 people that are just doing it over and over and over again. And then we did get a call from somebody in the VSP world. We talked about the eviction process of and how what they weren't going to do and what we're not going to do. I guess
Okay.
that
Because we may have a discussion with town attorney about that.
Okay.
We will later.
yes. Before I say too much, yeah, I think we're on the same page.
Okay, I think we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I have at this point in time.
Questions of our police chief?
So there's been an uptick in Swift tractor trailers coming across Meadow Lake Drive, down East Pittsford Road, and up over Prospect Hill. I didn't know if you could maybe reach out to DMV and see if they wanted to maybe sit on that a little bit, or if, JP wanted to sit on that.
Okay,
or-
I'll talk to,
It was
JP.
like 3, 4, 5 trucks a week.
really,
Yeah, and they're all Swift, every single one of them.
taking the shortcut.
Yeah.
Okay,
Are they overweight?
Oh, they're full semis. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, they probably avoid empty going down the road.
Yeah. Oh, they are over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 30-something thousand pounds empty.
Meadow Lake Drive,
I assume that they're coming over Meadow Lake Drive, down East Pittsford Road, and then up over Prospect Hill by the farm. Yeah, it is.
have you seen by the farm, go down by the farm?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, they come right up the hill by the farm around the corner. Yeah. Yep. I'm
Alright.
probably gonna shoot myself in the foot by having DOT go up there, and I'm gonna be in my truck, and then they're gonna stop me. But whatever.
Okay.
Matt?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you, chief.
Perfect. Thank you.
John Paul Fagnant, is he on? Barbara Noise Pulling. Yay.
Yay, yeah, the order went much quicker than
Yes,
it
indeed.
looked. Yeah, so yeah, good to be back. So the planning commission has pretty much wrapped up its work on the short-term rentals ordinance. And we did that last Thursday. That was 3 weeks after we had the public informational meeting on May 11th. And let's see, 22 people attended that, 20 were residents. 7 spoke against. 1 person spoke in favor of the draft ordinance, but they tried to speak over her at one point. But the complaints range from that it was an undue financial burden to it being too close to zoning. And so we didn't do anything that night, the Planning Commission. We sat on it for 3 weeks and then met again last Thursday night and talked about our options. We talked about maybe setting up a committee. We talked about doing perhaps an automatic review of the ordinance in a year's time. But then we voted on passing it with a few changes. We reduced the fees in half for registering. They were $100 to fill out the permit and $100 per bedroom. So we reduced that to $15.50. On Kevin Brown's recommendation, we eliminated the waivers section and the waivers fees. And we did a few other changes that we'd asked Kevin for help on. So then a motion was made to pass it with those changes. And the vote went 7-0 in favor of passing it. It would have gone, I think, 9-0 if the alternates could have voted that night. So there was, after working on this for a few months, and hearing the public and trying to address those concerns, they're ready to pass it along to you. Being that it was last Thursday night, we didn't have time to get it into your packet, so we can take a closer look at it at your meeting in 2 weeks' time.
Okay, so we have something on our desk that says final draft short-term rental ordinance version date 6/1/23. Is that the one you passed?
Yes, that should be the one.
Okay, yeah, and we're down 2 select board members, so we really shouldn't do anything tonight. What's the process for us now? You've sent the recommended ordinance to us. What do we have to do? No, is there a public hearing is kind of what I was wondering.
For an ordinance, I don't think there is one required.
Okay,
For the select board. I mean, the planning commission opted to have one. I think in the past, you have passed ordinances, right there on the spot sometimes.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that the planning commission is very concerned about the growth of short-term rentals in town, the potential growth and the health and safety effects that could come with that. And, there were a couple people from out of town at our public meeting. One woman from Burlington was there to share some lessons that they learned up in Burlington, which is probably a different animal altogether, what they passed. But it took them 3 years. And she was just cautioning that, we need to work people in, which we think we did with the public meeting. There was another person listening in from Pollitt, and in that town, the fire chief has asked that town's planning commission to look into a short-term rentals ordinance so that there is a parity, so that all lodging establishments in town have the same requirements with sprinklers and fire doors and the like. So that particular person is going to several different meetings that with other towns that are considering an ordinance. And then, geez, over the Memorial Day weekend, I was approached by someone from Shrewsbury, and they estimate they have 60 short-term rentals going at any given time. And they're a little bit concerned. They haven't quite gotten to the point of looking at an ordinance or a bylaw. They have zoning. But they're concerned about the effects it's having on the character of their town. And there's just, some weekends, there's just a lot more people than they're used to. And there's, they're even like trespassing on farmland and that sort of thing. So the concern is out there. There are about maybe 20 towns that have either passed an ordinance or are looking at it, maybe a little bit more now. So, we're not at the head of the pack there. We're not, we're not an outlier in that sense. We're in with a group of towns that are they're taking a look at this and trying to be preemptive, I guess. And Kevin Brown has already done one for Killington, and he helped us with the one we have.
All right, questions of Barbara? Matt?
So, Barbara, is this final draft, are there any significant changes in this other than the ones you mentioned regarding the fees?
No, Bill might know better than I. There's some definitions that were missing that I didn't mention. I don't think there's much else. And we updated, so we put that on the website and we updated the frequently asked questions so
Okay.
that the new fees are reflected in that. Yeah, Kevin just told us like the waivers, don't even go there. Don't offer waivers. He didn't have a comment on the registration fees. That was the Planning Commission's idea to reduce those.
So at the public meeting, I guess I would assume, but probably shouldn't, that all the folks that showed up, were they all people who own short-term rentals or operating short-term rentals that were speaking against it? Or were they just folks who were against it on philosophical grounds?
Yeah, a little bit of both. It seemed like the hosts that were there were a pretty unified group against the ordinance. And then there were those who saw it as zoning. Then there was like maybe a third of the group were just people who came to listen to what was being said.
And then you said there were one or two people that spoke in favor of it. Were they operators or were they folks who were negatively impacted by rentals near them, or what was their concern?
There was the one that we got a letter from Hitzel Terrace.
Yeah.
I believe there's one short-term rental up there now.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Fred Nicholson was there, and his comment, I guess, I don't know, it doesn't quite fit in the other categories. It was, this is a solution in search of a problem, was his comment. But again, that's not how the Planning Commission decided to come down on this and finish our work on this.
Has the commission had any conversations with hosts other than those that came to the public meeting?
No, we thought that would be our opportunity. And even during the public meeting, I offered the idea of setting up a committee and having hosts help us with an ordinance. I had to ask several times or twice to get a volunteer, and I got one former host and I think one current host, but they weren't really jazzed about doing this.
Well, I guess I hope they, it's unlikely that they're gonna ever hear this comment, but people ought to know, it's hard to do our jobs if they don't provide us feedback. So I, for one, would be interested in hearing from the hosts. So if they haven't spoken to the commission, I hope they reach out and contact the board and give us feedback, because we have to make a decision. And we have to make a decision based on the information that's given to us. And so, we can only guess about silence. We can't necessarily assume that the folks that showed up are a representative sample when they spoke against it. 9 people are not a majority of the hosts in town either. I mean, one might guess that the rest are in favor. I'm guessing they're not, but we don't know. So I'd love to hear from them, because I just feel like I'm concerned that we might make a decision based on assumptions or what we're hearing from other towns that we're not necessarily, about problems that we're not necessarily experiencing yet in Rutland town. That certainly are concerns that I would have and would want to monitor. But at this point, I'm just not hearing that, those things have become issues in the town yet, but I'm certainly open to hearing if they are.
Yeah,
Um,
and from the planning commission's viewpoint, we see that, this is a pretty simple ordinance at this point, and it's basically a registration process. There is a state fire safety inspection involved, but it's basically data for the town to start collecting and to collect, ongoing. And, we use that to just to try to stay on top of this if it becomes a potential problem, or just to give us some information on what is going on out there. Otherwise we just, there's 3 or more platform services, online services that people are using. So you just, do what you can. The only way you can keep track of what's going on is to go online and see what's being advertised.
Right. Well, or if there are folks out there in neighborhoods, like, we've had a comment about Hissel Terrace. If there are other situations like that people want to comment on, that would certainly have an impact on me and how I think about it. I mean, if there are a lot of these units that are having a negative impact on their neighborhoods or something like that, then we would need to know. But people aren't going to come to the meeting or contact the board, then we don't know. So I wouldn't want to make a decision just to do something just based on one incident.
Oh, one incident. I'm sorry.
Based on the one case that we've heard about of
Oh,
a unit
okay.
in town causing
Yeah.
concern to neighbors.
What I was going to add is that I think there's, I was concerned by some of the reaction to the publicity to the public meeting, that there might be some intimidation. There was a little bit at the meeting toward the one person who came to speak for the ordinance and for her neighborhood. So I'm not sure those people think they might get a fair shake because the opposition was loud and a little bit forceful.
Yeah, well, like I said, you can't necessarily assume based on this.
Forceful that I heard. Maybe my definition of forceful is different than hers, but it was a very open meeting that people were a little heated maybe about the town, telling them what they could do with their property. That was the main concern I heard. But
I don't think she's giving you a fair shake of what happened in that room. I was asked to attend it. I didn't have to tell anybody to be quiet or anything like that. They all voiced their concern. They didn't want the town to tell them what to do with their property. They brought up the fact that there was, we voted many years ago that we didn't want zoning, and this looks like zoning to them. That's the opinion they made.
No,
I'm
we,
sorry, someday I might want to have a Airbnb, and
Yeah.
I don't want the town to tell me what I can and can't do with my own property. That's the problem with zoning, I think.
we actually voted in favor of zoning. It was a poll that we did. It was before I was on the board, but I do remember it. And basically people said, yeah, we'd like some kind of zoning. So it wasn't whatever the comment was about people voting against zoning that to my recollection didn't occur, but that was a long
Sorry to
time
speak
ago.
out, but I was there and I heard.
Yeah,
it.
no, that's fine.
What
Yeah.
I saw was different than what.
The Hitzel Terrace complaint was about water usage
Yeah, that
because
was
they
the
have a
biggest-
fire district.
Okay,
Honestly, your Airbnb is probably gonna use less water than regular house because you're not doing laundry a lot of the times, so.
It depends on how people use it and how
Yeah.
it's, I mean, you.
Yeah,
If you overpack a place with people that are, flushing the toilets nonstop and whatnot, I imagine it's gonna have.
Yeah.
A lot of use, but,
In terms of water usage with the water district, that's something they can take care of as a fire district.
when they also have
Yeah.
covenants in the neighborhood that address it, so there's also a private cause of action, which I realize is not a great. Solution for them to have to fall back on, but that's sort of reality. Anyways, I guess my point is the more feedback that we get, the better. If there are more people out there that are in favor of it, I'd like to hear from them.
well, let me ask, we're not gonna do anything tonight.
Well,
Do you want to set up a hearing of our own?
well,
We've,
Bill had his hand raised earlier on process.
Done
Could
that,
you
yeah.
comment on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, if this was a bylaw, which the subdivision regulations are a bylaw, those do require us, a planning commission and a select board hearing before adoption. Ordinances do not. You could actually vote to adopt this tonight and then it starts the process. But there was some other, and I just made some notes for when it's my turn, I can talk about this too, but the process for an ordinance adoption, you just vote on it, and then that starts its process. There's a defined process for ordinances.
and there's 30 days within which people
60.
can, 60 days, and people can petition.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's kind of backwards from the ordinance
Yep.
bylaw.
So
but-
I guess I would think maybe we just put it on a future agenda. And we get the word out by various means, social media, front porch forum, whatnot, to people
I
that
wouldn't
we're
be
going to be
opposed.
voting on it. Please, if you have comments, send them to a board member or to Bill, or we can pass them on. And people weigh in the comments of Facebook, certainly.
Yeah,
It'd be nice, send us a formal email or a letter or something like that. And maybe you'll get the same people commenting. But if there are more people that are in favor of it or are having problems with short-term rentals, but weren't able to get to the meeting, then it'd be nice if they had another opportunity to weigh in.
timeline. Yeah,
I wouldn't be opposed to a select board hearing either.
okay.
The more we can hear from the public, the better.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So our next meeting is probably too soon. I mean, we
Yeah.
could do like a 5 o'clock hearing. We've done that before, and then go into our select board meeting at 6.
Oh yeah, the 4th is on a Tuesday.
Yeah, and that's our,
Yep.
so we can't, we gotta do something about meeting on the 4th unless you really want to.
Negative.
So 2 weeks or the meeting after that, whenever we decide to do it. What's your pleasure?
Eight. 18th, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm around.
If you want the public to show up having it around the 4th of July, you're probably not gonna have a whole lot of.
I'm
Yeah,
guessing doing it at 5 o'clock is gonna be tough for people.
Yeah.
too.
yeah. And I'm just throwing out ideas, so in the past, every once in a while, we have to do a public comment period for a grant that we've applied for, and we've set like 7 o'clock in the middle of a select board meeting. We suspend the other business, we take it up then.
Yeah.
This feels like it may be a little different than that.
Yeah, I think it might get,
Yeah,
should we go the 27th and have a special meeting,
27th of,
June?
I mean,
I'd give you 3 weeks to get it. out.
no,
is this an emergency? I mean, we could put it off all the way to August, couldn't we?
we could put it off
Right.
as long as we wanted
So
to.
do
but
the 18th and then we got plenty of time to get it out,
The 18th of,
July. I'm not meeting.
I may not be at the meeting, I'm not sure.
the 18th, yeah, I wouldn't,
July is tough.
Yeah,
yeah. Um,
Warren, I mean, I like the 5 p.m. idea, that's nice to give dedicated time for that. And
mhm.
if we're not satisfied with the outcome of that one, we could
do another,
do another one later.
Yeah,
on.
we could,
suppose,
yeah,
There is a lot of people paying attention to what we're doing.
mhm.
So I think that if we said we're doing it at 5 p.m. on the 20th, I think it would get out there. Marcia said she got half a dozen phone calls today, people just asking where we are in the process. So it's, there is interest out there, and it's from towns, from residents, from a variety of different people, so.
Yeah, so, but that's in just 2 weeks. What's select board members, what's your thought?
we can toss it up there, and if we feel like the attendance is a little light, we'll schedule another one.
So you're suggesting
Yes.
a 5 o'clock select board meeting on June 20th. 5
Uh,
o'clock hearing on this is kind of a special meeting. Huh?
I think scheduling a hearing on that at 5 o'clock makes it tough for people that might be working till 5 o'clock.
Right.
I don't mind, just looking at my calendar, I don't mind starting the meeting at 5 o'clock. But I think we're gonna do a hearing as part of it. I would push it back to a little bit later, so people can
Yeah.
get here.
Fair enough.
So, well, how about we do, say, 5:30 on the 20th? And then we can maybe start our select board meeting a little later at 6:30?
Or whenever, well, I guess you have to set it.
Yeah,
guess you
no,
have to
we
set
do
time
wanna
for
set a
warning.
time, yeah. And there's some benefit to that. People do tend to tailor their remarks a little bit better if,
Do we try to start a select board meeting early and then recess at 7, try to blow through it as much of the board meeting as we can?
Yeah,
then we have an open-ended public hearing.
well, we don't have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
Fair, I guess.
kind of
yeah.
up to you to moderate that, I guess, or is it up to
Thank
me?
you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You- But
Um,
I think if we could start
Well,
at 5
okay.
and we can burn through a bunch of our agenda, that might be good.
Yeah, if we start the meeting at 5 and see how much we can burn through.
so
And then you
5
just-
PM select board meeting, 6
that.
PM. We recess the ordinary business and we go into the public hearing.
and if
we
a
do
whole bunch of
6?
people show up, you just set a time limit on your comment. You got 2
Yeah.
minutes to speak and
Do we do 6 or 7?
On the off chance that we would be ready to adjourn, I would say we do 6. And then we can come back and finish anything that we need to. Then we say, and we limit it to no later than 7. And then come back at 7 to finish the select board meeting.
Sure.
Okay, wait till the other two hear about what you guys did.
damn, that's what happens. When you don't show up.
Okay, so select board meeting on June 20th. We'll begin at 5 with our regular business. It will go into the public hearing, public comment portion of the short-term ordinance review at 6 o'clock. And then resume no later than 7 o'clock for the rest of our business, if needed. Okay. All right, you guys good with that? I don't think we need a motion on that. We'll just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
I'll blame you too.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been waiting for worse.
Yes, you
Yeah.
have. So have I. Okay. Barbara, anything else?
Yeah, maybe just to mention that the people that join on Zoom, if the people are testifying or whatever you want to call it, are talking about the ordinance, they need to be near one of the mics. There's one near Kurt, and there's a couple over on the other side, I guess, that's usually vacant. So if they're not at the mics, the people on Zoom cannot hear what they're saying.
Okay, fair enough. Good to know. So we'll do some sound checks occasionally too. Okay. All right, anything else from the Planning Commission? Thank you very much for your work on this. I know it was quite a chore, but we appreciate the work you put into it.
Sure, yeah, and if you need any other help, just let us know.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, we've got Bill Sweet, Town Administrator.
Got a lot.
We got a lot. Well, do we have anything else?
Yeah, you could do the grant funds and we could do the parcel bids. Yeah.
Oh, well, let's hold it. We've
Parcel
only
bids
got
might
4
take a
minutes
minute.
on, so. Let's do the grant funds. This is, oh, Barbara was on, so she helped us get this. This is the MERP $4,000 grant. It's we don't have to match it. It is, and the Energy Committee took a look at this, right? And we are using it for energy audits in a couple of town buildings. I think is that correctly put, Barbara?
Those are free in the one of the upcoming phases of the MERP funding. So the audits, you'll have to apply for those, but they will be free. You'll have to select the
Okay.
buildings. If I remember correctly, you were looking at maybe having a consultant come in and look at the downstairs there at the town office. And the 4,000, this mini grant of $4,000 can be used for that. It can also be used for an ADA compliance consultant, if you think there are any issues like that downstairs. And it can
So
be
we
used for a
could-
variety of things. The number of things it can, just keeps expanding. But that was, I believe, some of the original conversations.
Yes, you're
Okay.
bringing it back to me. We have also brought in an architect to start working on the downstairs, and given that, I'm not sure that this 4,000 would be better directed downstairs or someplace else. And do we have other town buildings that need a look? I almost think we do.
It was the highway garage.
The highway garage was one, yeah.
So the free audits, they will result in a number of suggestions for things that can be done to make the building more energy resilient and reduce conservation or reduce energy costs. So that you may want to wait for the audit for that kind of work. This mini grant, it originally started as they call it a community capacity building grant. So, the legislators who sponsor it were thinking that, would go for direct mailings or, stack cards or consultants that would reach out to residents, energy fairs, things like that. But you could also use it to train municipal staff on energy efficiency topics. You can hire a consultant to set up the construction project. after the MERP audit, you can pay for a clerk of the works for that construction project. Well, that's actually with the construction money. So that,
But my understanding was we kind of needed to do this before we were in line for the free audits.
no, they're all pretty, the three phases are pretty separate. With the
Okay,
exception that you can't get construction money unless you go through the audit, the MERP audit process.
okay,
But there's applications, 3 different applications for each of those.
all right. So I guess my question is, if we got a $4,000 chunk of money, are there projects around that we could use this money for educational purposes? Maybe a display at townwide celebration? And we had talked some of those things when the Energy Committee met. So bottom line, can we think of enough uses for it that it wouldn't go to waste?
Yeah, you've got 2 years to spend it down, the $4,000. So maybe the Energy Committee should put its heads together and come up with some new recommendations.
Okay. All right,
And,
so I think we need a motion to accept this grant.
Move, we approve accept the MERP grant and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Motion's made, seconded, discussion. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Right?
Aye, motion carries, and I just signed it. Just one place? Okay, thank you. So more thing to go after that. We are at 7 o'clock, and that is the time we have set for the complaint of a vicious dog. This is a slightly different process. This is a more formal hearing process that the select board has to do. So let's see who's here to speak of it. Mr. Acavello? Okay. And do you have anybody besides you who are who's going to speak about what has happened? Okay. Mr. Moran? Okay, and you're going to speak. Do you have anyone else who's going to speak with you?
I was going to speak, my wife said next.
Okay, very good. So, we're going to follow the process as best we can in our ordinance. And I did run a copy of it. I remembered that. So for the 2 folks who are going to testify, and it is a hearing, so I'm going to ask you to stand. The 2 of you who are going to testify, raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give and the matter now under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under pains and penalty of perjury?
I swear to.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Acavello, we'll start with you if you'd come up here, please. And tell us who you are, where you live, and something about the circumstances that brought you here.
All right. My name's Donald Acavello. I live at 192 Connor Drive, Rutland Town. What brings me here is I've had a problem with my next door neighbor's dog. He's attacked my dog 4 times. 2 of the times he wasn't reported because I didn't want to be that kind of neighbor. So we let it go, and they promised me over and over again it wouldn't happen again. And it's happened 4 times, and it's their dog getting off their run and coming onto my property where my dog is on a run, so he can't get away. And I've had vet bills, and as you can see there, but my major problem is my great granddaughter's outside sometimes, and if this dog gets away and comes over to attack my dog, the Lord knows what could happen.
Okay, and you had filed something with the select board, a one-page statement. You remember?
Yes,
sending That into us.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that your statement there? Ignore the B up at the top.
yeah. Yes,
Okay, and attached to it were 2 photos?
yeah,
Okay, did you take those photos?
I did.
And one is of your
This is,
backyard.
they didn't have a fence there during bite 1 and bite 2.
Okay,
They decided to put up a fence. And in a few weeks, a windstorm blew down 2 sections of the fence. And the 3rd bite came, or the 4th bite, I think it is, came from their dog coming through there.
through the fence, okay.
And this
Is
is
the
only a
fence-
fence on one side. This is not ending, just ends, and there's no, I never heard of a
It's
fence
not
that,
an enclosure.
no, it's not. It's only one side.
Okay, and the second photo is,
The injury,
okay, the injury to your dog?
yes,
Okay, did you take that picture?
yes.
Approximately when?
I don't know the date.
Was it after the first bite, the second bite, the third bite, the fourth bite?
I think that was the 3rd bite.
So are you asking us to consider this all as part of the evidence?
Yes,
Okay, did you get a chance to see these?
The pictures, but I got a chance to see
You saw the statement?
the
Okay.
statement.
So take a look at the pictures. I'm going to ask you the same question. Do you have any objection to us using that information as part of the evidence?
No.
Okay, thank you. So this is now what's been labeled as B. It isn't really, but it's how we identify the docket in our packet. There's 3 pages and those are now part of the evidence. So anything else we should know?
yes. I'm not here to get the dog euthanized. I'm a dog lover myself, but I can't continue like this. It's just not fair to me. It's not fair to my family.
Okay.
I don't know what the answer is.
Select board members, questions of Mr. Accavello.
Sure, so you've provided a picture of one of the injuries. Uncertain which one it is, but it sounds like it's not the first one. Would you,
No.
would you say from the other incidents, were there additional injuries and how would they compare to this?
Well, that's because you'll see the vet bills. You can see what the injuries are and also what the vet said.
I'm sorry, did we have a statement from the vet?
You didn't bring any statement from the
I
vet.
did.
Okay.
Yeah. This is an additional bill and the statement from one of the statements from the vet.
Let's see, so this is sent by the hospital and the date on this is. Says it was printed 6/6/23. Dated
18th, 18.
2018.
Mhm.
So this is one of the first time it happened?
It might be. I believe so, because that was Esther's rating, so.
Okay, so.
I only have,
Dog, it says the general note is dog fight, check left rear foot.
yeah,
And then the other is animal record. It's not labeled. And notes as for 26/23 about what the vet logged as what he heard had happened, and then some scribble notes. They're as bad as doctors.
yeah,
really.
I couldn't read it myself.
Okay,
Check it to study more than that. Get to know every animal instead of just one.
So do you want us to consider these as part of the evidence? All right, I'm gonna show.
Student handwriting all day, that is pretty good.
That is, isn't it? Yeah. You have any objection to us considering these two? Okay. So we will admit the receipt from 8/20/18 and the animal record from, this is from Center Rutland as well, but that hospital.
Mhm.
Okay. So there you go. And do you have the pictures from
Yeah.
before? Okay.
I got those.
So questions, and then we're gonna allow Mr. Moran to ask questions, and then you're gonna swap places. He gets a chance to talk, you get a chance to ask him questions, and we can do the same.
So do we think then you've determined that this was from the first incident,
What,
this?
2018? Yes.
Okay. And then the second document, is this related to the same? What is this? Do we know? What is this document?
It's what the vet gave me.
Okay, so here I see a date, April 26th of 23. So is that the most recent incident then?
I'm sorry, what was that date?
April 26th of this year.
Yeah, it looks like according to the timeline, April 26th was.
And you
the
should have a
number.
bill that coincides with that date.
All we have is what you just provided to us, I believe, and the written statement. And the pictures, that's all we have.
In your original
Jason.
packet. You must have invoices.
Not that were provided to us. Yeah. Do we have anything else? No.
There's a letter in the picture.
Okay.
Yeah, this appears to me to say that P, is that your dog? Is that an initial for your dog's name?
No, his name is Bobby.
Oh, yep, could be a B. There's a little. So B was attacked by a pit bull. Looks like O just called. Right leg. Difficulty walking. Don't see any punctures or
Yes, that was the last one.
or blood. Can't feel any something, perhaps fracture. And the rest I can't make out. And there's no charge indicated.
Okay, I'm gonna pass this up. Any further questions, Matt?
No, I guess not. I mean, I'm curious about what other invoices there may have been, but we do not have them on the
Well,
record.
I have them if.
Okay. Mr. Moran, questions of Mr. Racavello?
One of the questions was, why would the vet think that we had a pit bull?
I never mentioned a pit bull, but. It's not a pit bull? It sure looks like it. What is it?
The Sharpei lab.
Chairwoman, I wonder if we should have everyone in front of a mic in case our missing members desire to review the record later.
I can speak up too if that.
I don't know if that will,
You guys sit over there. How do you
There
want?
you
I don't.
That one
Will
should.
Sharon get mad at me if I'm in her seat?
you could pull
Probably, but
you
he'll
could
get
pull a
better.
chair.
On my back.
There's one in front of them.
Why don't you
Okay.
pull that chair right up over there?
Okay, good.
Good? That's good.
Okay. Questions?
Yeah, so I mean, I was just wondering where the pit bull part came from, because at no.
I don't know, it says nothing in my stuff about a pit bull.
Yeah,
No, it's just
just dog.
happened to be on this.
Yeah, it's interesting. This didn't make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, he's
It's a
not.
minor detail, though.
So
It-
what happened with the bills? Who paid the bills?
I did,
Okay,
which I'd like reimbursement for.
okay. We don't have them in front of us except for that one statement.
This,
Well,
this one's a bill for 145.
Yeah, that's the last one.
And this one looks like 190. Maybe is what it looks like.
Yeah, but I think if you look at the one that's the actual bill, there are other things on. it
Yes,
that
there
we're
is.
looking at
and the
that-
other one is all by itself.
Yeah.
I don't think that bill is very big. The,
This one looks like a 190 in the bottom corner.
yes, but what does it say above it? Is there other things like
Uh,
medicine and
yeah, there's something in the chicken scratch.
Yeah,
I
It
think
looked
there's,
like some of that was not related,
right?
just regular checkup stuff.
I
yeah,
believe it was.
so like maybe the most you could figure out of this is like a 55 and a 25.
so, well, the ordinance doesn't call, I don't think, for reimbursement of expenses, but it does allow the select board to we have to determine first whether the dog is a vicious dog or creating a nuisance, or, being off leash or out of control. And then we can may issue an order for the protection of persons, domestic animals, and or property as the facts and circumstances may require, including that the dog be muzzled, chained, confined, or disposed of in a humane way. So do you have any requests that you want to make of us as to what we should put in an order?
Like I said, I don't want to see the dog euthanized. It's not why I'm here. But I want to be protected. Now, however you can do that is fine with me.
Okay, with Kurt didn't have a chance to ask questions. so-
I'm all set on questions right now.
I'm just scribbling that these are all part of the. Okay, any more questions, Mr. Moran?
No, I just have a prepared statement.
Okay, so it sounds like we're done with you, but you can sit right there because you're picked up on mic and we'll let you make your statement, Mr. Moran, from
Sure.
there.
Thank you. Would you like me to stand or am I okay sitting?
No, you're fine.
Good evening. Although I'm here under a set of unfortunate circumstances, I'm glad to have the opportunity to address the select board and bring some clarity to all the circumstances that surround the interactions between our dog Gordie Howe and our neighbor's dog Bobby, who's owned by Mr. Accavello.
Gordie Howe, huh?
Yes, yes. Unfortunately named after a hockey fighter. He did score a lot of goals and
I
get a lot of
know.
assists, so simmer down. Now, I have a timeline here that I'll hand to you guys. I have a packet for each member of the select board of the number of interactions that have occurred surrounding these circumstances, and I will attach them to some documents to give you. As you can see, some things were left out in key interactions between our pets with the original statement you received, Mr. Accavello, that I just want to make sure we have the timeline correct. These interactions paint a picture that may show more of a back and forth between the two dogs that we both own. It is unfortunate that these two animals have a disdain for each other. I feel like Mr. Accavello is struggling to come to terms with his dog's responsibility in the relationship that the two dogs have, the behavior between the animals. All right. As you can see from the timeline, I'll hand that out to you in a moment. Both parties have been unfortunately responsible for negative interactions between their dogs. Due to our role in this, we have sought out a professional dog trainer. I will attach a letter from an animal behavior college certified dog trainer that speaks to the nature of our dog and the way in which Gordy weekly interacts with and plays in an open environment with many other dogs, many other Rutland Town dogs. I could provide you with videos of him playing with other dogs as evidence to this. If you like to see videos of dogs frolicking, let me know and I'll pass my phone around and you can check them right out. We've also tried to make the ability for our dogs to interact as limited as possible within our means. In doing so, we spent over $8,000 to put a tall fence between our yard. The tall fence runs all the way to the back, corners with another neighbor's fence, and is on two sides. The space that he could possibly get through if he was to evade his chain, which has happened, obviously, in the past, is a very small space between the garage and the fence. Other than that, they would have to go all the way around the house and pool. Unfortunately, $8,000 is a lot of money to us. Okay, so my love would be to put a gate on this side, fence out the other side. I would love to have a fenced in yard. It'd be amazing. Nurse, guidance counselor, $8,000 is a huge chunk of change. Okay, it's about, I don't know, 7 months of my salary. Okay, so the most recent interaction between our dogs in which Mr. Accavello was not home and his housekeeper hooked his dog up outside was in late April. My wife, Nicole, did not see Mr. Accavello's dog outside. We've had a long-standing agreement that if one of us sees the other one's dog outside, we try not to let our dogs out. For this very reason, they just don't like each other. It worked pretty well, but humans make mistakes. Animals are animals. Okay, so unfortunately, Mr. Accavello's dog, when she let him out, Nicole hooked him to his lead. She was outside with him. She did not realize his dog was out. His dog barks, lunged as usual from his lead in Mr. Accavello's yard. Okay, Nicole was there. Okay, Gordy ran at Mr. Accavello's dog. When Gordy hit the end of his lead, it snapped, flipped him out of his collar. He hit the ground. The fence had been blown down by the storm. Okay. Blown in a windstorm, and we had already called Praticos the second we knew it was broken to repair the fence. They had not yet been able to fix it. We called them immediately upon it being damaged, but it was busy as it was springtime and it was a very busy season for them cleaning up yards and doing outside work. During this incident, Nicole was able to get a hold of Gordy before a physical interaction occurred. She was in the space the entire time. Mr. Accavello claims his dog was injured by Gordy in that particular interaction. I'm not sure, as the dogs never physically touched each other. Perhaps his dog was injured while jumping and barking while Gordy ran at him. Very possible. This is the first interaction between the dogs since the installation of said fence. We have made countless efforts to avoid any interactions between Gordy and Mr. Accavello's dog. We have spent over $13,000 to train and protect our dogs. We regularly walk with Gordy on a lead and use a number of training methods with him. He is never outside or off lead, and he is exercised multiple times a day. I feel at some point the behavior of Mr. Accavello's dog should be addressed. In the sense of when our dog, from dog behavior, when our dog sees him barking and lunging, he feels like he needs to protect their property. And it's nothing wrong. I don't want to blame either dog, their dog behaviors. And we're working really, really hard to negate our dog's behavior. Okay, these two dogs don't like each other. Very clear. Our dog gets along and plays with many other dogs, right? He
So
does.
does mine.
Absolutely. So these two dogs just don't like each other. And every single time there's been an interaction, and there have been interactions where his dog has come over into our yard. And I have messages between us and Mr. Accavello where we were talking about it, and we have offered to pay vet bills in the past and he didn't want them. And we have those.
Absolutely true.
We have those messages. So I feel like this is two dogs who don't like each other because they both have behaviors that antagonize each other. I don't feel like it's one dog. I feel like it's an unfortunate set of circumstances that both dogs do not care for each other. And I feel like we are doing a ton, spending a lot of money, putting a lot of time, a lot of effort into trying to mitigate that. And it's frustrating to be here right now because in that mitigation, I feel like there's been lots of work on our side to change the situation. And yet here we are being expected to keep being the only ones doing anything to change that. And I don't feel like that's fair. I'm working really hard with my dog. We take a lot of effort to try and get him in a better space. Do I think he's a danger to humans? No. And I'm not even going to read off of here. I don't think he's a danger to humans. He has never, ever once in his entire life had a single negative interaction with a human being. Kids, one of the reasons we took him in from a foster care situation is because kids can jump on him, grab his ears, pull his tail, wrestle with him, throw their bodies on him, touch him while he's eating. He has poses zero threat to human beings. And I would say a very small threat to any other animal with the exception of his dog. And I will admit that freely. They do not like each other. The letter from my board certified dog trainer says that. And she says that one of the biggest reasons is part of his breed, the Sharpei, is a guard dog of children in flocks. That's what they're designed for. So when a dog is across a small, unknown to dogs barrier of an invisible property line, and he sees a friendly bark, I don't think his dog is vicious. He sees a friendly bark, he jumps, he's lunging at us. In the past, when we first moved in, our kids didn't know that his dog was pretty jumpy and physical. They got scratched, they got knocked over. So our kids are antsy about being in front of his dog. Those dogs feel it. We're worried about our dog and his dog getting in an altercation. His dog coming on ours, ours coming on his. We're amped up when the dogs are out there. Those dogs feel that. They feel that, right? This whole situation has caused some animosity between us. Those dogs feel that. They know what's up. That's how they roll.
So do you have things that you want us to?
I just have the
as
message. I
evidence?
just have the messages between us showing that we have tried to mitigate at least some cost early on.
Okay.
Mr. Arcavello hasn't messaged back to us in a while, so I think he was upset about what was happening.
Mhm.
And so he just said, you know what, I'm going to back out. Fine. But we did offer to pay. We've had a great interaction. And I also want those messages to show that there were times where his dog jumped out of his car and came over to our side of the property and attacked our dog. He apologized for that. Like, it's not a one-sided thing.
Geez, I don't even remember that.
I know. And that's
So
yeah. So let me give you the copy of the
Give me
messages
six.
and I'll give you the letter.
Circulated.
Yeah, and I'll give it, Don, I'll let you have it too, so that you can see that some of your messages are from us to you and you to us.
I
about
know, I
those
have the
things. Yeah.
same.
So the first page is a timeline. The second page is a copy of the messages back and forth. And the last page is from the board certified behaviorist for
Okay, so
dogs.
there's-
So I got a packet for everybody. If you don't mind, I'll just hand them
So
around.
Let me first make
Yeah, yeah,
sure that Mr. Accavello has a chance to look it over. And do you?
I made sure to bring enough that people could have some. of it.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good idea. And do you have any objection to including that as part of the evidence we consider?
No,
Why don't you flip through the rest of it before you?
well, I'm not done reading it. I'm gonna read it all before I go giving you any permission to do anything.
Okay, I'll sit down and be quiet for a minute.
And I gotta apologize. I put Bomo here instead of Mr. Accavello because that's his nickname. And so when I was typing it, I didn't realize it wasn't the official documented hearings.
Your name's Bob.
Don,
Oh, Don, I'm sorry.
but his nickname is Bomo. So in here I wrote
Okay.
Bomo. I think he spends a bit of minutes on the lake.
So now I'm confused, but your dog's name is,
Bobby.
okay. I'm really confused, but that's all right. It's better than Gordie Howe, that's all I'm gonna say.
It is memorable.
Yeah, I know. Now, you don't have to agree to everything in there and you'll have a chance to say, but right now the question is, do you have any objection if we look at that information?
Well,
as
if it's
part of
not
the
correct and you're using it as the gospel, I don't know if it,
No, if it's not correct, you have a chance to raise questions about it, but we will have it in front of us to consider, and then we can give it the weight we feel it deserves.
okay.
the fence is back up?
Yeah, it's great. And actually when they did it, they tightened it up and got it even closer to the ground because there was one spot on it that had he jumped, he might have been able to kind of roar under. And
Okay,
we actually had them tighten that up closer to the ground when they repaired it.
okay,
And we moved it back. It was on our line, but it was about 2 inches. We moved it back, so it was 4 inches from the line, just to give a little more breathing room on his side of the property. So we tightened it to the ground and actually made it tighter. And the back side, it actually goes back, and along Mrs. Natali's line behind us, there's an entire fence that I actually repaired for Mrs. Natali that is not on our side, but she's an elderly lady, and I feel bad that her fence was broken, so I just repaired it for her anyway, and it benefited us by giving us one more end of barrier for the animals.
okay.
Okay, I have no problem with that.
Okay, thank you. So go ahead and I think you've
Yep.
brought one for,
Thank you.
okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything more that you want
Don't.
us to consider?
No, I just, like I said, I felt like it, I don't feel like it's a singular issue. I think the most recent issue has been our dog with his. But I think if we look at in totality between the two animals, there has been a back and forth animosity that has gone on that is both dogs antagonizing each other. And I felt like we were being misrepresented in the original statement, and that there was no responsibility placed on any party other than ours. And I don't feel like that's right. And I feel like there were a lot of assertions in Mr. Acabello's letter that he gave you that were without merit, without evidence. And I wanted to make sure that we cleared that the fence, we were trying to get it fixed. Right. And asserting that we were coached by the law enforcement of our community, I think was without any sort of evidence or merit. And I didn't like that. I felt like it was disingenuous to say about me and my wife. And I feel like we have put $13,000 into trying to mitigate this circumstance, and we were being painted as a picture of people who weren't doing anything and who were not taking any responsibility. And I didn't like that.
Okay, I can understand that, but that's not the way Mr. Accavello presented originally.
That's fine, but the letter was a lot of things that weren't necessarily true,
Okay.
and I didn't like that about it, and it was pretty upsetting. And so I've tempered myself since, but I was pretty upset by some of the things that weren't true. If things
Okay.
are true, I don't mind. I really have worked hard in the last, especially year and a half, to own my stuff. So was she. And I feel like there were some things in there that weren't us, and it was a misrepresentation of what was really happening.
Okay. So, Mr. Accavello, do you have questions?
Oh, have I got questions?
Okay, well, you've got also the document in front of you, so you might want to ask from there.
Let me ask you this. When did you know that the fence blew over?
Well, yeah, the fence blew over.
You did? Well, why did you let the dog out after that? if there's no fence there? When that dog
It
gets,
was on a lead.
and every single time he's bit my dog, he's run to the end of that lead and gone right out of his
That's
collar.
not true.
What did you do to correct that? That him
It's-
coming out of his collar? Did you ever change his collar?
That's not true.
Well, it most certainly is true.
The first time he went over and he and your dog had an interaction, it was because my young children had gone in the house and didn't shut the door tightly behind them, and it had nothing to do with the lead.
Okay, that's one. What about
All,
the other?
the
two?
other
Wait, wait,
three
wait.
were all on his lead.
Okay, and then on his lead, the issue with that was she was out there with him. She didn't know that Bobby was out there. The deal that we had at that point was that we wouldn't let the other one out if one was out there. So she was under the assumption Bobby was not out there. So the fence, the lead, none of it really would have mattered had Bobby not been out there. We
But-
did not know that. So
That-
as soon
the
as she,
second-
as soon as she knew
Let her
that,
finish, then we'll get back to you.
as soon as she knew that, she immediately went to there, and that dog never touched him.
Well, I can prove to you from the vet that he did touch him.
All you said was it was bruised and it could have been a break, but it wasn't. And he had a
He couldn't
bruise
even
leg.
walk on it.
He could have gotten that running up the stairs. He could have gotten that
You
lunging
know
and
more than the
barking.
vet.
I wasn't there when they interacted. She was, and they never touched each other.
What did you have? I guess I'm curious. Did you have an agreement that only one dog would be out
Well,
at a time?
they would put their light on when their dog was out.
Okay,
So I would come upstairs at night and I would look. If their light was on, I wouldn't let Bobby out.
okay,
And they did the same thing.
okay.
Absolutely.
And did that work okay?
It worked okay until it was daytime.
Yeah,
None of these bites occurred at night.
okay.
But we would look out and see if he was there. And at that particular time, we couldn't see that Nicole couldn't see that he was down. And because the fence was down, she was standing outside in the grass with him. She heard Bobby bark,
Yeah,
right? And his chain from him lunging on the bark. And she went, oh, pardon my language. Oh, shit. And she went running after him, right? Because the fence was down. It was an extra precaution because of the fence.
I don't get that. What do you mean? Extra
Okay.
precaution.
She was out there with him.
It doesn't matter. He came onto my property.
You just asked
he
what,
slid
you
out
asked
of
what
his-
was different. I just told you.
He slid out of his collar, correct?
Correct.
so
The same thing that's happened 4 times. He slid 3 times. He slid out of his collar.
how,
And you never changed his collar.
how did he get out of the collar? I'm curious.
When he hits
about
the
that.
end,
Yeah.
it like,
He like spun right
Jerks.
around.
Right,
right,
okay.
it jerks, right? And like kind of chokes him for a second, and then he drops out of the collar.
Could you put him in a harness or something?
Exactly what I wanted to know.
Could have.
Would that work?
Our extra precaution because of the fence was that she was out there with him.
Yeah, well, that particular time it didn't work so well.
Correct.
Yeah,
Now the fence is also fixed.
yeah,
And so while the fence was up, there was never an issue. So the fence is now back up. It was fixed. I can't control Praticos. Nobody can control Skipper. So that being the case, I can't speak to the speed at which Praticos was able to get there and fix it, but.
No,
the
but
fence
you
is-
can't let your dog
the
out
fence
until
is
the fence is
currently-
fixed.
The fence is currently
the
fixed.
fence is fixed. Okay,
Yes.
so what's your solution?
I would have no problem getting a separate harness for it. What we've been doing since this is taking more time to go out and actually walk him. So he's on a lead with a collar that is a gripping choke collar. You can't use those on the outside leads because it's a tightening collar. So
Mhm.
if he would hit the end of it, he would injure
Oh, yeah,
himself. And I
yeah.
wouldn't do that to an animal. So I think that getting a 4-point harness that goes around the arms, probably very doable. We felt that with her outside with him while he was outside, that would have been enough. So it wasn't like we were just going, well, fence is down. Screw it. Go ahead, buddy. Like we were doing something more than we normally would do, which was hook him up and watch from the window.
Okay,
So we weren't just, I want to make sure that it's understood that it wasn't this like, oh, we're just letting the dog go. Like we were taking extra steps. We have been doing all sorts of things to
Yeah.
try to mitigate any further action between the 2 dogs,
okay,
including the fence is also for his dog not to be seen by our dog so that we're not having to deal with him barking and antagonizing our dog and really, making people uncomfortable.
Mr. Accavello, any more questions or anything else that you want to say?
I really take offense that you said not all that stuff was true in the letter. I mean,
I didn't say
You
that. I said
want-
things were omitted.
you want to make it sound like your dog is innocent in this. 3 times that dog slipped his collar, and what did you tell me? He won't do it again. You said that to me 3 different times, that he wouldn't do it again. And you never changed anything as far as his collar is concerned. He's got the same collar now as he had the first time he slipped it.
We built an $8,000 fence between our homes and got him
This much
5,000.
room underneath it.
Not anymore.
Not
We just told him
anymore,
we
but
fixed it.
Wasn't it that much room underneath?
When it was like that, did he ever get under there?
That doesn't,
No.
Okay.
no, he didn't, but he didn't get off his leash then.
So
All
what I
right,
had a
so
problem
I'm
with.
I'm
yeah.
gonna ask select board members if you have any questions of Mr. Moran. Oh, yeah,
Well, I
Right.
guess either of you could probably answer this
Mhm.
question, but we do have a picture of the fence. Is this
That's what it looked like when it was broken.
when it was broken, which is before they tightened the bottom?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so. I
Down
just-
this way, it's much close further off the ground.
It's tight to the ground all the way down now from when they fixed it.
Well, okay, and none of the portion of the picture can I see that is this high off the ground.
Well, it is, or it was.
It was below the knee. It was about this high probably.
Yeah.
In one particular spot, which they have now tightened right down to below the ankle.
And there's no gate stopping him from coming around that fence.
yeah, it's not an enclosed area.
That's
I-
why we still
I-
keep him on a lead and we'll
Okay.
put that 4-point harness on if that's what
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you,
would be the
how
effective
would you
measure.
feel then with the harness, a 4-point harness on that the dog can't slip?
Not agree with it, not unless you're gonna put a gate across that open portion.
So you don't think that's gonna work? Has there,
Well, if he gets off his leash, which he may not now, because the fence does, as TJ said, provide a certain amount of. They can't see each other, so they don't really, my dog's not jumping and carrying on.
Alright.
But if he gets off his lead, he's just gonna come around the fence.
right, but if he's in a 4-point harness, he's not gonna be able to slip it.
Would also like to say one of the times that he did break his lead, the lead actually broke out of the house. I just screwed it into the side of the house.
Yeah.
And what I then did after that was I got a much longer eye bolt and put a 2x4 and went through the 2x4 into one of the stud beams of the house on the
Wow,
inside.
okay.
So one of the times actually, it was not he slipped his lead. It was that he the line
Pulled the
broke
thing
because
out
I
of
didn't
the-
put it in strong enough and it was that was fixed also. So
Okay,
I mean, my dog's on a 9,000-pound tensile rope run.
Mhm.
So he never breaks it.
okay. All right. Kurt, questions?
How far is it from the fence to the garage, you said?
probably from here to that wall.
Well, I guess the easiest thing would be to work on a 4-point harness and maybe,
And when we
Work-
can
work
afford to, I would
towards-
love to have a gate there. It'd
Yeah,
really
work-
negate a lot of this, but I don't have that kind of money.
just maybe work towards a gate in the future, you know?
Yeah, I would have no problem with it. It's not for lack of want.
Yeah. I'm not gonna force you to go.
But Spending
Spend no
4 or
bunch of
5
money on
grand,
a
right?
gate.
It's a lot.
Okay.
After already being on hole
final-
13.
Matt, anything else
that's
that
what
you
I
want to
said.
ask about?
I guess I want to clarify, TJ mentioned earlier. An incident where Mr. Accavallo's dog jumped out of a car, and I think that's discussed here, it looks like in these messages. Was there a separate incident of Mr. Accavallo's dog coming onto your property?
Can't remember if there was one other time, but
Is
I
that's
never
the
thought
one
it-
you were referring to? or-
yeah, so there was definitely that time. I can't remember if it was that or I know he had gotten off his lead a couple of times early on when we were there and I had helped Mr. Accavallo actually wrangle him back because he was he's just a dog that wants to jump. It's not like an aggressive thing. And so he had knocked over a couple of kids and scratched some kids in our yard, and I kind of rounded him up and helped Mr. Acavella bring him back because I didn't have exact dates because I really didn't care. It's a dog just being a dog. I didn't put it in there because I couldn't give you exact dates, and I felt like that would be unfair to put in there. But being asked about it, there were other instances early on where his dog had come over, and that's where I think the fact that it's both dogs having these interactions, it's not a singular.
Yeah, but it's
thing.
up to the adults, I feel, to make sure that they're not having interaction. It's not, dogs are not running our lives. We're running their lives.
Correct. And
So-
so I feel like we've done a significant amount to try and mitigate that, and it hasn't always worked. But like I said, when the fence has been up, there were no interactions between those dogs. I can't control the weather, and I can't control Practical's landscaping.
Nobody's
Right,
asking
so
for that.
any final comments? What we're going to do now is we have. We're not gonna make a decision right now. Okay, we have a chance to deliberate and then we have to draft an order. And make sure everybody on the select board's fine with it and then send it out. So. You're willing to do the 4-point hedge.
Mhm.
And the fence is back up and it's closer to the ground. What is it at this point, Mr. Acavelo, that you would request?
The gate,
You want a gate?
or just fence it off.
Okay,
Doesn't have to be a gate.
okay.
So again, to clarify, this distance was how far?
But from here to there,
And if that's constructed, there's, as you pointed out, at the beginning, the yard is still not enclosed. This is
Right.
still a fence that only.
But he'd have to go all the way around the house. Would he do that? I don't know.
I mean, if somebody wanted to
When
write
you
a
say
check for
around the
25
house,
grand,
maybe I'm not, maybe I don't understand. the
That's what the
geography.
price of being a dog owner is, TJ. You have to, even if you can't stand there and say, I can't afford this and still have the dog.
Let Matt finish here. Okay.
I wonder if one of you would be willing to very quickly draw a diagram on that board that explains where your houses and the fence are, because I don't understand the comment that the dog would have to go around the house.
house, pool, fence, Mr. Acavella's house, deck.
So the road is on our left, running up and
Yeah.
down.
So the road, Connor Drive is here.
Yeah.
Driveway there.
Okay,
Okay,
Show them where the fence is there.
Fence is right.
okay.
where's
Well,
the,
that's a long ways away. If
where's,
that's the proportion, you better draw that
I,
fence.
I'm not an
Oh.
architect, so the inches to feet, I'm probably off by a little bit.
so
It's-
where is the
so-
gap in the fence that we're talking
Gap
about?
would be this space here, but then there's still a gap here and there's still a gap here. And if we're gonna be fair, this pool is probably here and this gap is probably bigger there and this space is probably here, but then it's open on the deck, so that needs to be done.
Oh, so when you say the dog would have to go around the house, you
We'd have
mean
to
he would
go
have to
around
go?
the house.
But what
or
about
around
behind?
the fence.
You
Could he
can't go behind because that's a fence.
You're right.
Where?
This is a fence.
That's the other
This is
neighbor.
The other
Oh,
neighbor's fence.
So you've got both sides.
It's the fence I repaired for Mrs. Nate.
Oh, so it's her fence.
Could
You
you put
built.
a dotted line in where Mr. Acavello says there should be what?
Going
gate or something?
across
Okay,
That's the garage.
okay,
the garage, there's a side door on the garage here. Little walkway around.
okay.
Driveway goes out like this.
And the dog is hitched
There's
where?
a tree, the only tree on the property is here. And it runs from our deck stairs are like this. It runs from here. I'll do a squiggly line for that,
Okay,
to that tree. And then he's on a lead that he can run down, poop, pee, scratch the dirt. Bobby's line goes kind of like this on Mr. Acavello's, because that's where he has a metal.
He
post
can't
set up.
reach the fence.
So
okay,
you have.
He's maybe 5 feet from the
Right,
fence.
So
Okay.
what happens is his deck is here, his dog comes out, what would happen is. "Burr, burr, burr, burr," and my dog go, "Burr, burr, 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 burr," and then they do this, so now we have the fence set up, so now there's no more "Burr, burr, 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 burr," and "Burr, burr, 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 burr." There's just two dogs on either side of a fence. Hopefully we time it and we pay attention to each other to make sure that those two dogs don't interact.
Okay.
See, I let mine out once when his was out. And I immediately, when he started acting up, grabbed him and dragged him in. And I said to TJ, I didn't know your dog was out. Like, I look at his line, but sometimes if the dog's not moving, the line's, the run is pretty
Well,
steady.
It looks to me like you've done a lot of cooperating back and forth on this whole dog schedule and one dog in while the other dog's out. And the tone of the emails is, really pretty decent. So I hope you can go back. Sounds like you were really good neighbors before some of this came up. So I hope you can go back to that. And so I think we've heard what we needed to. We've got the evidence in. Thank you for the diagram. And that's roughly, you agree, roughly, that's.
Yeah, that looks like it.
Said I
Okay,
can't do those inches to feet. That's not a math guy.
I understand the situation much better than that.
yes, that was very helpful. You want a gate, you want a 4-point harness, so.
Or if I hit Powerball, I'll gate the whole thing up.
Okay. All right, well, so we've taken the testimony. Any other last questions from select board? Okay, thank you both very much for coming in. And I was impressed the way you folks were working through things here. So I hope you can go back to that. And we will issue an order when we have a chance to deliberate. So thank you folks very much for coming in.
Thanks for your
You're
time.
welcome to stay the rest of the meeting. Well, we're gonna have an.
Can't imagine how
executive session.
exciting that might be. So I think
Yeah, it's real exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Bill,
Yeah, it's gonna be reflected in the minutes.
I'm
That'll
gonna
be,
put this in the green folder. These are the two exhibits, so everybody has. Okay. So we've got town attorney on and it is somewhat after 7:30. And we've got a few things still to go with Bill, but we've got to open the bids for the town-owned parcel of land for sale, but let's take our attorney if we could, please.
well, are we gonna have
Motion-
some, are we gonna have something to talk to the attorney when we open the bids, or? I was just thinking,
That was not on my list, but if you want to do it in that order, that's okay.
well, I didn't know if opening the bids might have. There may be a question that we then have to talk to him about.
Right, I presume we have to open those and open.
Yeah, we have to open the bids in open session, so.
Yeah.
Point well taken. Why
I
don't I
just
do that right now?
Didn't know.
Okay, this is for the sale of town property 29.0 acres. This is located off US Route 7 on the toward the east, and it's behind another parcel of land. We've received 2 bids. They're both sealed, so. Opening the first. And this bid is from Mark Foley of P&R Properties. And he is bidding $55,555.55. Okay, bet he had fun with that. And the second. Oh. Is from. It says Tennybrook Farm, 67 Traverse Place. John Ruggiero. And the offer is $12,500. What is your pleasure?
That's it.
That's it. 12,500 from John Ruggiero. DBA looks like Tennybrook Farm, and $55,555.55 from Mark Foley, P&R Properties. Do you want to take any action tonight, or do we want to bring in the other 2 select board members?
We should probably just
Yeah.
receive the bids and
Okay,
go over at the next meeting,
okay.
please.
So why don't we do that? And we've received the bids and we've opened them, and if Bill could make copies for next week's packet,
Right in that green folder.
put them right in the green folder. Yes, we have to be careful of me taking things home. And Now, we have several items that we wish to discuss with our town attorney involving pending litigation, possible litigation, and contract and advice on a contract. So is there a motion?
So
Motion to go into executive session for those purposes and to consult with our
Second.
attorney. Motion's made and seconded. Discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries and we're in executive session. We do want Chief Dumas to stay. And
Okay.
it is 1 minute to 9. We're back on the record. We're out of executive session. Let's continue where we left off, which is Bill Sweet, Town Administrator.
you on there multiple times now? Running yourself?
You're recording, right?
Yes, we are.
Alrighty.
All right. I have a few things, not too bad. I won't take up too much time. So on your desks, you have a sewer allocation request. This comes from Joseph Rizzi, 24 McKinley Avenue, which is also Mr. Twitter's. They would like to discontinue using their septic and connect to the sewer line that runs in their front yard.
That place has a septic?
It doesn't, it's not connected to the sewer, so I don't know where, unless it goes in the river.
It's probably pretty accurate because there's not a whole lot of real
There's
estate
not.
there. Whoa.
Really good for watering those plants out there.
They have, they've thought about adding an apartment to that, so this would be one step in that process, but
Okay.
down the road, but they would like to start this first.
Move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve the Joseph Rizzi sewer allocation application. Is there a second?
Yeah, sure. Second.
Discussion.
All right, so can you just explain a little bit more of what's going on here?
Oh,
This is a
right,
town
okay.
sewer line that runs under. Route
We
7.
own a portion of the daily wastewater processing capacity of the city sewage system.
Okay.
We have a certain number of gallons of allocation that we can send down there, and we helped finance part of that building, and in turn we got an allocation in which we sell to people that want to connect to it. So the cost is $5 per gallon. So it depends on what they are. I have a very large spreadsheet which has them all in there, and I can show it to you if you like. But we keep track of all of them, and once a year I go through and I make sure everybody's within their allocation ranges. But we have to keep track of them because we can only send so we do have a limit. We're not really close to it yet, but we do have a limit.
We're
So
not close to it.
we're not close to it. We're like 200,000 gallons away still, so. we got a ways to go.
A day.
A day, yeah. We got a ways to go.
It's a lot of toilet
So-
flushes.
Okay. All in favor of the sewer allocation, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I don't have to sign it.
Nope, nothing to sign, just that's
Okay.
That's it. Okay. The Clarendon admin reached out to me. They have had a resident come to their select board asking them for help with Quarter Line Road. I said, oh,
That
good.
would be,
So they have asked if we can bring that up, and I said, yep, and we'll still probably go to our highway committee and then they can talk about it there, but we have now had an official request from Clarendon to have a conversation about Quarter Line Road.
is it perchance the same person who was bugging us?
She wasn't sure because
Okay.
this person went to a select board member and the select board member went to her. So we don't know, or she wasn't sure at that point, but we had a little discussion about it. So yeah,
Okay,
it's
so, okay, why don't we send it to highway?
that's all we need. So
No problem?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I talked to Dave this morning about it. So yeah, it's good. The July 4th select board meeting, what would you like to
Oh,
do?
yeah. No, well,
the
obviously,
fireworks.
we don't want to meet the night before, because that would be July 3rd, which is even worse, so.
Why don't we meet on
Well,
the
that-
field
that's not
right
so
during
bad, 'cause
the,
we're doing the fireworks during the
Sunday.
Fireworks.
Sunday under the fireworks.
Oh, yeah. Bring the orders up.
Yeah.
Sign them.
Another one.
So do we? If
we
we do the
haven't-
5th, does that screw paychecks up?
That can be done. Well. That's a little strange because it's the beginning of the fiscal year too, so it's a little different,
Oh.
but that's. The only thing we could really do is maybe we could actually meet the week before and just. Have a 1 week meeting and then have a
Pre-approved?
3 week window, but. Does make things a little interesting, but
Hmm.
Meet on the 27th.
Can we just
which I think
push,
was your idea from about,
push the
Well, ready to
20th to
go,
the
but-
27th and then skip one?
it's hard to. Can't really skip them. It could, yeah, I mean, we can push it we can push it a week, but we can't really skip the meeting, so.
Could we all just come in, sign orders on the 5th? Or sign them on the, is town hall's gonna be open Monday, we just all come in, and sign the orders on Monday
It's
and
gonna be open Monday,
It's closed, it'll be closed on Tuesday.
but people will be taking long weekends, I would guess.
well, the 4th isn't that important.
It's a holiday.
If you want to give us the day off, you can certainly do that. We won't,
We did,
we won't,
the 3rd, no, we didn't.
right.
Do you want to have a meeting on July 3rd?
That's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Do
Do
we,
you want to have a meeting on
do we
July
need-
5th?
do we need to meet? I mean, all we have to do is sign orders, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, technically, we're supposed to be voting each meeting to approve the orders before we sign them. We never do that. Which
Well, why start now?
I know. right. And so we really should have some kind of a meeting that week.
You could,
Or,
it could make it an abbreviated meeting. You don't
Yeah.
have to make it. We could. Well, unless there's any emergent agenda items, we could leave them for the next meeting. That's not a big deal.
yeah.
So we can
have
make it a
light
short meeting.
agenda, But
Yeah.
we'd still have to get people paid. So
Yes,
July 5th,
people appreciate that.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, I guess.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
uh,
Maybe not.
Try and get over that. I really don't want to do
Well,
this and just,
we can, well, we can plan for that and then we have another
Yeah.
meeting to talk about it if
Yeah.
that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
There's no dot on the calendar that day, so that's a good sign.
okay,
But
there's now
all right, let's aim for.
Okay.
July 5th and
at 6.
at 6.
Okay.
Not put much on the agenda.
No.
No, that's fine.
okay.
That's,
You can Let
that's fine.
department heads know unless it's urgent, we don't
yeah,
need to.
just,
hear
just
from-
like we did at the school. That was
Yeah.
fine. That worked,
Yeah.
that worked out fine. So. There are some old chairs downstairs. Are we okay to get to offer those for anybody that would like them?
Give
Just to-
them away.
Yeah,
Those are
okay.
horrible. We got them for like 50 cents each.
Well, they were the good way and they were in here
Yeah.
at one point. And there's some old folding tables too that don't really aren't,
The heavy ones.
yes. Do we want to hang on to those? We have we probably have, we have a
those
lot
are
of
the ones
those
Rotary
tables.
borrows.
With what? I
Are those the ones that Rotary borrowed back in the day?
think they did.
Yeah, we have like some 6-foot ones and some 8-foot ones, but we give away some of the 6-foot ones. Just we have 6 or 8 in the hallway here. We have a cart full downstairs and more. So we have more than this building can hold.
Of
Yeah.
tables or chairs?
Holding tables.
Might as well start an event center.
yeah,
Spread them out.
Put them in the departments first.
Sure.
And make sure, if highway wants one or two
Sure.
up there, or if rec wants them,
Sure,
and then I'd say just get rid
just
of
offer
them.
them. Okay.
Yeah.
And we still have the window.
Oh, for Christmas sake, we do.
So I don't know if we want to,
How do we do the timber sale? We put a notice somewhere.
yeah, we've offered,
For
we've put it out there
sale.
a few times and gotten very little interest.
So we just say for sale.
Okay.
Dimensions of the window.
Okay.
And then, is that okay with folks?
Yeah.
Because Joey was.
He's interested in
measuring
it.
up. Does he
Don said he
want it?
was interested in it at one point. So
Don did too.
I, it just is
What
there
is
and
this
it's,
a historic window?
No.
oh God, no,
It was.
no,
a-
no.
It was a
It was a misorder and it was a
Yeah.
special order and it was non-refundable. So
it was a not smart order. Let's put it that way. It wasn't misordered. He-
$200.
It was
No.
what he ordered, but it
There
was not a
there were some
smart
unfortunate choices made. Okay, website updates. We're coming into the new year, so we're gonna have a little money to work on the website. I have
Please.
given image setters a very extensive list of updates I want to do to it, so a
I
lot.
Hate
the-
our website.
I mean, it's so,
Have
you
you
know,
ever
we-
tried other towns' websites?
there are some that
Yeah,
are great.
I mean, we
So-
are ahead of some.
You were-
about 4 years ago, we really got into wanting to update it, and we went out to some vendors that were great, but they were between $15,000 to $20,000. Like it was, so we found image headers. I think Byron's one that suggested to, and they've been wonderful. But we do little things a little at a time. So, but we've got some, we need, there's some things we need to kind of take a step back and like get rid of stuff, and so I've given the list, like, here's what I really want it to look like, and so they're putting together a plan. So we're working on that.
I
So
want a searchable. I want a box that searches and really
there is
comes
a
up with
box.
stuff.
Well, yeah, it's only as good as
It
it
works.
it does work. It's
Yeah,
we can't get $15,000 performance out of a $500 budget, so we can, I'm working on it. But if there are things that you want to include, or anything, we just let me know. We can work it in. But I'm really, like, we have department heads in like 2 or 3 different places, and elected officials, like that's gonna go like.
recent stuff needs to be front and center on our, well, maybe
Yes.
not center, but a sidebar or something on our
Yes.
website. So everything that is new, scholarship applications, and not hopping around to
Yeah.
under different part. There needs to be a current something.
So that's kind of in where we post things, like agendas things. There actually is like a running thing, but it gets to be one of those things where we're trying to mold what we have into what we want, and it's really hard to do that rather than just doing like something completely different and starting all over again. So we'll keep working on it, and I think I want to see what they come up with for a plan, then we'll go from there. We were not successful with, we applied for that AARP grant for the rapid flashing beacons. We did
Oh,
not
too
make
bad.
that, so it was too bad. So
Bill, can you kill the volume on that, or
yeah,
I think I'm losing my marbles here?
I gotta watch in case anybody tries to join the meeting, but
Oh, is it echoing?
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing him twice.
Because if anybody joins, I can't let them in from over here.
Joining at this hour.
The gateway signs coming into town
Yeah,
are almost done. I've
Okay.
been there a couple of times. I've been to Awesome Graphics a couple of times, and I've had some people call and say, hey, your signs. I'm like, yes, we know the signs are in rough shape. So they are almost done. I was there yesterday, and they said they got some final painting they got to do on it, and they'll be ready to go. So we're getting there. And I did talk to a landowner on the south end of town, and he wants to see what it looks like, and then he'll probably let us put it there. So
okay,
because we don't have one down there yet.
yeah,
That's the only, we don't have one on the south end.
all right.
The permit tracking ordinance, the updated one is now in effect. Its 60-day window was up last week, so that's now in effect.
Good.
That when that it's all online and posted. The short-term rental ordinance, so I made a couple notes that were going along. The meeting where they had the hearing is on, it's on our YouTube channel. So if you go on to YouTube and find us, you can watch the first part of the meeting. It was about almost 2 hours probably of that. It was a good conversation, and there were some people that were getting upset about water usage, and I was trying to tell Barbara, like, we're not talking about that. Nothing here talks about it. So if you're upset, that's fine, but like we don't have anything that regulates that. So please don't be upset at us about it. You mentioned the water usage. Interestingly, the house in Center Rutland where we actually bill the usage is one of the highest uses of all the houses around.
Yeah.
So, and not by a little margin. It's a pretty big, almost double the next closest one to them. So, it is legitimately a bigger house, but it is absolutely a more substantial usage than other ones
So, and that's
around.
an Airbnb?
Yeah, short-term rental, yeah. So we talked about the the adoption process. The other thing that we had changed in there was to make it when you adopt it, and if and when you adopt it, to make it effective July 1st of next year, to allow people time to get inspections done by fire safety. Because in talking with them, I talked with Matt and talked with DJ, and they said they absolutely want to inspect them one time, like and that's enough, unless we request it specially. But in order to give people enough time, let's give them a year to do that. So we wouldn't potentially make it effective till July 1st next year. So that date is in here also. Kevin's comments were great. We took actually a bunch of stuff out, and it was really good. So
Yeah, he did ask if they had been adopted.
Mhm.
So why don't you, if you would shoot him this final draft?
Sure.
He doesn't need to re-review it unless something is a
Yeah.
glaring problem, but
No, I
Thank you.
don't think so. I mean, we fixed some statutory issues, and
Yeah.
actually what's funny is the statutory problems were ones that were copied from other towns, but
Yep.
that's okay. We fixed ours. So, it's actually gotten a little smaller than the last one, but I think it really does a good job. And I've talked to some residents after meetings and stuff, and they kind of changed their view on it after just talking about what was in it. So, and a lot of what's not in it. So I think it works out really well. I think that is all I have. The Barbara talked about the audio in the room for the microphones. We were having a lot of trouble with that the last couple meetings, with people in the audience wanting to participate.
okay,
And if they don't come up, we can't hear them.
okay.
We had talked about, right, I looked into that, a different microphone system for the room, which would completely eliminate that problem. So it would involve spending some money, but we would be able to fix that. So it doesn't matter where you're sitting in the room, you'd be picked up. So we could address that. Just take some, maybe in the next budget, we can put some money in there to do that. So other than that, that's
Okay,
that's everything I have.
committee reports, we've got the public safety building minutes, and we discussed that a little
Yep.
bit with Kevin, so that's where we are with that. Building and technology.
Mhm.
Kurt wasn't there, I didn't go to that one, Bill was there,
Yep.
the architect came in with plans.
Yep, we met with the architect for a while. It came with plans. They gave us a couple different designs for downstairs, some layouts, and looks really good. We
When
made
do we get to see them, like the whole board?
we made a whole bunch of edits to
Okay.
that. So because there was things like where the floor has some dips here and there, like they had kept those in there. We're like, no, if we're gonna do that, we're gonna level the floor. So they took those in and made notes. We're gonna level the floor as part of that. So like the small meeting room in the corner over there is in there. There's 2 bathrooms, the hallway over there, like we talked about. The secure storage space by the vault, like it was all there. Yeah.
All right, I hesitate still on the secure storage space in that big open room with all of the with open space, and B, all of the light that's coming in, the natural light. And I don't know why secure storage couldn't be put in the back part and free up that space for another more open. I'm just saying. I don't like that. idea.
When you see it, when you see the plans, it may make more sense.
I will take a look at.
Yeah.
the plans and try and
I
figure
did,
out-
like I said, and I did find the lists we had from downstairs, people
Yes.
voting, actually it's right over there, and we had everything on it. So
Okay,
we hit it all.
good.
But they had the kitchen moved over, taking the staircase out and moving that over, and yeah, it looks,
Good.
it's a really good plan. So, yeah, we're looking forward to the next
That would be
next
nice.
revisions. I kept all the
Two
windows.
things on that sort of related. One is this MERP
Yep.
money.
Yep.
I don't think we told the architect, or maybe you did, but was the architect aware that we have some money to do the energy efficiency and whatever that
No,
is?
I haven't talked about that yet.
Okay,
So
so we should probably
Yep.
make sure that he knows that that's a resource we can have that may be reducing some of the costs down
Yep.
there. So, okay.
absolutely.
And the other thing is, and I mentioned this to Joey, but then I forgot to do anything. The monument outside, I mean, it's all part of the town project, is Dr. What's his name?
I'd heard some people made some contacts and come in, and then they said they're gonna get some people together and come back, and never heard
Okay,
anything anymore. So
maybe I should email him and say, hey, And we need some numbers from you. We need a plan and we need some numbers from you folks when we start building the budget in
Yep.
November.
I
So
did
what's your
get,
target?
from West Rutland, they sent me their whole project list a couple years ago, but everything they did for that
Nice.
project. So I do have
Okay.
those things. And we did, for the stone bench project, they asked for the letter of support. So we created that. That's good. So that they're moving forward with that. They've got their students. So that's
Good.
underway. So
Where are we putting the bench? Up
We
in
don't know yet.
Northwood.
probably up Northwood. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we're still trying to figure that out.
All right.
The other thing was the appointments. I'd given you
Yeah.
the list.
We got anybody interested?
No, well, we want, you want to see want everybody to see the descriptions. And if
Yes.
you're all good with the way that's worded, that's what I will release out.
Yeah. Next time when you do one of these,
Mhm.
don't highlight in blue because you cannot read the damn thing.
No,
No,
I can read it.
you're a whippersnapper. Some of us are older.
I'll use a gentler color.
Yes, please. Nice job on the townwide celebration flyer. You have
Thank
one on
you.
your desk.
Yep.
Bill got a whole bunch put together and up to the schools, so the parents will get them from their kids and will be aware that we're doing townwide celebration.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? I think we hit everything on our action needed. Other than annual appointments, but I've not heard that. Oh, I know. Town grand juror, there was a tie on write-in votes. Matt Getty versus
Isn't it Darren?
Darren. Yeah. So,
And I've been thinking I would have wrote in Darren's name, so I nominate Darren.
so.
She can figure out what the heck
Extend
that
an
job
invitation
is.
to Darren to be town grand juror if she'd like.
Sure.
Okay. Should I do that? You want to talk to her? She's your neighbor, right?
She is.
Why don't you talk to her? See if she wants to be town grand juror. I've heard she does.
Okay.
Gonna go
So-
concede the race to her and.
Yeah, we could make it public even. There could be a dunking booth involved. I don't know.
It could be.
Okay,
Could be.
all right. If there's nothing else,
Well, sure, Jared.
motion's made
Okay.
and seconded. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
You bet.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.